We're good to roll whenever you're ready, man.
I'm ready, man. How you
Yes.
doing? Yo, my name is Hugo, and just chopping it up with my main man, Goldie, straight from motherfucking Thailand, live and direct. What time is it over there?
Well, this is Goldie, and it's 11:16 in the morning, and I'm kicking it back with Hugo, who I've got a lot of time for this young gun. He's got a lot of energy, and I love that. And we're going to bless this platform here at ID, all the family from ID, Alistair, who has been instrumental in we've been cutting the breeze and getting this together. I'm just kicking back and just talking culture. Let's go. I got eyes on Hugo. Well, I got volume on Hugo when I called him up at the shop, and he was like, "What the fuck? Is Goldie on the phone?" I think it was. I think it went down. I think it went down like that. But the thing that impressed me was just the whole demeanor, just the way that you carried the whole thing, man. And I was like,
"Oh man, I appreciate that. It was actually around this time, like last year. You were having a show in New York, and then I hit you up, and I was like, "Yo, this is Hugo from Stüssy." That's what I told you to come to the shop before anything, because I knew, I wanted you to see like the new wave and everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went on from there, man. Like we connected, and then I saw you live in LA. That shit was crazy.
For me, when the young'uns come up in the way that you come up, it means to me there's a massive shift and a huge change.
For sure.
The fact that you're sitting there wearing a Lahane t-shirt just makes me so happy right now. That, my young'uns, I get to call everyone a young'un, which is great at my age.
I know.
It's brilliant. But, my daughter's like, "Dad, can I go to the lockup? Because, I remember that jacket, I'm going out this weekend raving, and I want to, bust a few things." That I couldn't wear my dad's shit. I couldn't.
Yeah. What were you fucking with back in the day when you were going out raging and like going to raves and shit?
There wasn't really anything. You were like wearing these shoes called Salatios. I think the world's got a lot to answer for and thank b-boyism. Pre-16, it was punk. It was a donkey jacket with like a Harrington, and maybe some skinny jeans rolled up with Dr. Martin, 18 holes. Got to be 18 holes, nothing less. So that was that era, moving into even almost into new wave. I was a massive Human League fan. I mean, believe it or not. As kids, we always clutch to different fashion. We always clutch to these different things.
What was like inspiring you from anywhere from like, the UK or where you grew up? You grew up in Wolverhampton, right?
I grew up in Wolverhampton. Skating was a big thing for me. Roller skating. I lived on skating. Oh. I lived on my skates, like literally.
Oh shit.
I'm a quad. I can put on a pair of quads right now and kick someone's ass right now. I even based my TV series, a big part of it, on episode 3 around the skate rink, because for me it was the first time. You walk into a place where you've been put into care, and you walk in and you smell black culture. Like you smell the music, you smell, the energy, and you feel excited. Your blood starts thickening. You're like, "What the fuck? This is it." And the mixture of music from a British perspective, we were still listening to such an eclectic mix of music. I got the feels right there, and all of this melting pot of ideas. I think that's the attraction from a UK culture point of view, bouncing back. And of course, Americanism came a lot later on for me.
I know your music background, it runs deep, but before that came graffiti, right? So how did you and Wolverhampton get into graffiti?
Graffiti is always, it still is. It still is what it is. It's like, it's riding that bike. Subway art really, is still the Bible. Going to New York that first summer, I always think that the trains moving through New York was the first, for me, valid internet.
First art gallery.
The first galleries moving
Yeah.
Moving our galleries, moving through the cities, taking a message, smoke signals. Yeah. Subway art just was the mind blown. It was the The
I mean,
abs.
it's still is so crazy. Like I just went to see the Henry Shelf exhibit at the Bronx Museum. That shit fucked me up, man.
You come from New York. You're sitting
Yeah,
on the epitaph, the very fucking foundation.
I mean, not only from New York, but also from the Bronx, like where the
That's what
shit
I'm
was
saying.
really going down. Instantly, you get taken back into that moment in New York City. You know, late '70s, early '80s, when like crack was killing us. You know,
Killing the
and then
community.
and then some way somehow, graffiti was like the kind of like the gateway for us for minorities to to just go and do something creative.
I was blessed to have seen that era when the Bronx was on fire. On the
Yeah,
back end of smoke, if you like. I get there and it's rubble. The idea of culture coming at a time to save the phoenix from the ashes. Graffiti is still one of the only art forms which you've got. It doesn't lie. You go out, you paint the fucking wall, you see it. You can't just rip it off the wall. It's there. The style is there. And the importance
yeah.
of that culture is that it's not disposable. I've lost 5 iPhones this year. Because why? Because I don't give a fuck.
At what point did you get introduced to jungle and drum and bass through in the midst of all of that?
Well, it's not getting introduced to it. It wasn't about getting introduced to it. We were making it. We were creating it. There was a handful of creators
Yeah,
back then. It's like we were introduced to rave culture. We created jungle
right.
drum bass. We made it. The one thing that graffiti learned me was arrangement. Arrangement. You place the sound, the outline first, and you work all the colors back, and then you put it sideways. You got all the colors from light to dark. There you go. There's the piece. So you're already transforming. You go 2D to 3D to 4D to Escher. Boom. So the sound became that. So that's where the music making really started off.
Did it come natural to you, like when
Yeah,
you
it's just
started
arrangement.
making music?
Just came natural.
Wow.
Making
So
music became.
did you didn't have no musical background before
I
that
had no musical background whatsoever.
besides the shit you were listening to? Wow.
No, I have never, to this day, engineered a record.
That's
I
insane.
this is the thing which people get fucking miffed about. I have never engineered a record. It's like when you get close to graffiti and you get close to the wall and you're
Yeah.
putting the piece on the train or on the wall. The first thing people always ask you in general public, how do you make the thing that small go so big? Man, graffiti writers work in perspective, baby. We know size. You understand? So scaling is a b-boy mechanism, man. It's a fucking b-boy thing. It's you got to think about the perspective. So for me, that's where I learned. My music would not be the same, man. Making music is painting for me.
Wow.
It's synesthetic. It's making music is synesthetic. I see the bass lines in purples and blues. I see the vocals in yellows and oranges. I see the hi-hats in greens. I see it. It's like I see it.
How old were you when you made Timeless?
I was 27. 27.
Wow.
I was 27 when people forget, now kids make music at 14, 12. People are making stuff
Yeah.
on Fruity Loops. My first record was 27. I didn't start yoga till I was 44. I didn't grow up
Wow.
at all yet. I have a mental
Yeah.
age of 12. I'm still there.
So
You know,
what was your mental state when you were making Timeless?
I was fucking crazy. I gotta say to you, I'm borderline. I mean, I was doing a lot of drugs. I was doing a lot of psychedelics. I full of beans. The energy levels. I mean, even now, it's difficult. It's difficult, man. To stop me sometimes, to stop myself. I have to learn the discipline of the return movement. I guess it's what's strange for me is that I was on the edge of massive cultural change every time. Like Fritz, who was one
Yeah.
of my best friends, and he introduced me to Cookie, and Cookie went, man, Gold, Love what you're doing, mate. Do you want to come and do the Sex Pistols tour at the Brixton Academy? I'm like, what, a DJ? He went, yeah, just come and play some fucking mad music. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, he's been a bit friendly. So I go and do the Sex Pistols thing. And I'm on stage playing music, and all the fucking punks are throwing £1 coins at me. Because they get the fuck, they hate the music. And that's what they wanted. They wanted it to be, they knew that was what's going to happen. And I'm like, you know what, fucking, come on then. And they're throwing coins. I mean, the first night I collected 72 quid. Culturally, I kind of just missed that punk wave, but I was on the fashion and I was on it. But being on the edge of culture with hip hop, catching the trains, Miami, the explosion of Miami bass, and then catching England from rave before I left the first time to go to New York, then coming back and all the football hooligans. So we were into Cecchini, Fila, you know, Australian, Cerruti. Done it. Done that era, done it. So I caught a lot of culture edges, man. You know what I mean? It's like all of those edges of culture were verified in the coming of age of Timeless. That album is a coming of age album. It's an honest interpretation of my real life. Because you have to honor culture. Timeless was so important for global culture. For me, it was international b-boyism at its best. Because all the people that I grew up on would have to decipher it. They'd understand it. But because it's in its own world, you've changed the fucking form. That's what Timeless is. You take all of those things that you have, all of that sound, and you put it into a crucible of your own, and you melt it, and you fucking put it into your mold. That's what it is.
Amazing. Were you surprised by how much success you got in the mainstream culture when you dropped Timeless?
Timeless was a fucking disaster, let's face it. Cultural importance of Timeless. In my arrogance, which every b-boy needs it, in my ego, I needed that ego to go in the door into the room before I entered sometimes. And what's crazy about yoga in the latter part of my life is that you have to leave the ego at the door when you go in. So it's,
and I want to get into that. I want to get into you. I want to get into yoga because I know you've been doing yoga for a while now, and I kind of want to get into your head and see how yoga has helped you overcome your vices and your demons. I gotta
say to all you kids and you young'uns, you gotta understand, man, that you're in a vessel, and you're in a like time machine that runs out of that very same substance. You got to look after yourselves. You got to understand, man. You see this? You see that light? That's yoga. It's meditation. I've struggled with addiction for 36 years. I struggle now because I've got to maintain that and manage that shit. I think even more so now, having the support of ID, having the support of Stüssy all my life as a given. We'll get to that one. That's a whole other chestnut. I just remember we haven't even started.
Speaking of Stüssy, when did you get introduced to like the whole Stüssy?
I started seeing it on the racks in Earlham Road at the Stüssy store they had there in Earlham Street, in Carnaby Street, just off Carnaby Street. And I'm like, it was all the red, gold and green with the tribes, and I'm like, who is this fucking Sean Stüssy? And it's like, you know, Sean's like the fucking god. They don't make him like they used to. But you see that? The tracksuit, velour. But let's just go back, though. Because you got to go back to go forward, right? This is a bad boy piece.
Exactly.
Look at this bad boy, man. This is crazy. This is a crazy jersey, man.
Man. Do you still have some of the pieces that you were wearing back in like the 90s?
Yeah. I've got all of them. My tribe jacket. I mean, they brought this back recently. This is the original. This, my friend, is the original jersey. That's the original
Oh
bag.
man, yeah.
One of my favorites, man. I mean, I've got 4 of these set. This rolling for a little tail. It's pretty badass.
Oh man. Shit.
He's never seen that, right? I know you ain't seen that shit. My first Stüssy shirt was this,
Wow.
along with
That's
the one.
amazing.
Yeah, I love to rock. My goal for the ladies was just like, come on, that was crazy. And the thing that I really push the most when I see all the photographs from the 80s is this sport, man. This sport's got to come back.
Oh man, that
This
photo of you in New York, man, that shit goes around like
yeah. I
clockwork.
mean, this is so look at it. Look at the ink, how cracked it. Look at this shit, man. That's vintage.
Wow.
It's vintage, man.
Wait, let me get a photo of you holding that up, because that's oh yeah, buddy.
This, buddy,
Wow.
is the fishing jacket.
Wow. Wow. Oh man.
That shit is so fucking rad, like this, man.
Do you still get excited about the new Stüssy shit that's coming out?
Well, I kind of, some pieces are hit and miss. Some pieces I like. I think it's made a move for the better. A couple of years back, I was kind of like going, whoa, slow down, kids. But yeah, so I mean, from the point of view of the new stuff, I'm like, look, there's enough memorabilia. There's enough in the archives to rework it well. I think Stüssy Sport should definitely come back hard, for sure.
For sure. For sure. There was one thing I really wanted to talk to you about. You always say the greatest things in life you should always respect are love, time, and memory.
Yeah.
Can you please expand on that?
It's very much tied to the idea of what we do today creates tomorrow. That's what it is. We're going to make every opportunity that we realize that we only have a certain amount of time, and we realize that on this day, we're going to make sure we put the work in. Yeah, so love, time, and memory is about understanding the unification between the three. The time doesn't really exist. It's the moments that we're in.
Amazing. My last question is, you're based in Thailand. When did you decide you wanted to move to Thailand, and why?
I came here because, well, number one, I came here to retire, and that fucking went out the window. That didn't really work out too well. I mean, what I'm realizing is in my stupidity is that an artist never really retires.
Yeah, I mean, you've been working a lot, right?
Well, I've probably been working more now than I was when I did that stuff that I did. So I came here to do that, and I came here to open a gallery with my partner. You know, Auramart Gallery is flying. We are
Auramart, yeah.
Bangkok. It's good. I do get slower. You know, I run out of energy sometimes in the day. You know, I have a moment where I have to just lie the fuck down, man. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm still Peter Pan, but I'm like Peter Pan with a fucking gold walking stick. I'm like, life is good, man. So keep it fucking real.
All right.
Too. Well, you go, man. You little motherfucker, and you're doing fucking good. I'm so glad that you're running the school. You got titles after your name now. You got like Stussy.com.
Hey man, just trying to make it happen, man.
Do you enjoy it?